Good morning. Great Zach Tate. Here this morning on the Church of Real Life. This morning I'm discussing how suffering builds character. The largest organ in your body is your skin. The thing with the skin is when you moisturize it and you keep it soft, it is easy to bruise and cut. However, if it does cut, a scab builds. After that scab is pulled away, your skin begins to get thicker and thicker. So what happens with your emotions and your spirit is, as life goes by, you will encounter as a child a very small issue like falling, and you start crying. But the second time or the third time you fall, you realize you can get back up again and you stop crying. So you have went through a building stage emotionally. When you deal with relationships, your first relationship, someone broke your heart, the emotions that's involved, you will feel is devastating. You will feel that you have never felt something like this. You are dependent on somebody else to give you love and affection. It's not until the second or the third breakup in your life that you realize that life is not over. You have went through an emotional building. Physically, when you go through something like the arena of sports and you get hit, if you get a real good hit, like if you play football like I did, you get a real good hit that rings your bell. You're like, oh my God. But you knew it was coming. But what you do is say, okay, that's all it is. Let me get back out there. So what happens in life sometimes as adults, we make decisions that we know is going to end up having an adverse effect because we don't listen to our intuition. Our intuition guides us, reminds us, nags at us, and tells us, do not get involved in this situation. Nevertheless, we do it anyway. Our intuition tells us, stay in your lane and do not speed. You cannot afford to find the ticket going to court, but you speed anyway. Your intuition tells you not to give over your money to this person, but your hope and your desires fuel you to ignore it, and it creates a level of suffering. What happens sometimes as adolescents, we don't think about consequences and what's at stake. As adults, we should, but sometimes we even ignore that. And when those consequences come and show us what's at stake, because we lose what's at stake, we label that suffering. So either it's a financial suffering, it's an emotional suffering, or it's a spiritual suffering. I don't know too many. Okay, you got physical suffering as well. You may have done or exposed your body to a thing that has caused it physical suffering. You have done something emotionally, or someone else has done something and you have allowed it to affect your emotions based on your interpretation of what that other person did, and that's emotional suffering. Spiritual suffering is when you hear your spirit guiding you towards the source of its energy, which is God, and you ignore it. And then we have the financial suffering, where you fail to plan, so you plan to fail, and you make decisions haphazardly about your finances, and it comes back to harm you. So these sufferings that we have, if you have ever hit rock bottom, as I have, you learn quickly that when you are at the bottom, it is easy to look up. You learn quickly that when you're in the valley, you can see the mountaintop from a perspective that you have never been able to see before. And there's so much value in that valley that you learn that suffering builds character. So now what happens is when you overcome what you think is the impossible, when you was trying to hit the eject button, or you wanted to just give up and throw it all away, but for whatever reason, circumstances, God, family, a kind word, or your own will start developing the courage to continue on, you start developing a character where, like a child, those first rough bumps and bruises that cause you to cry, when they come again, your character says, I can get through this. So right now, I need individuals to understand that when you are suffering, it's like that bump and that bruise that's peeling away that skin that's going to end up being stronger. When you suffering, it's like that child that fell down and realized I could get back up. When you suffering and you go through it and you begin to build a callous and a strength and a bonding and a level of security inside, that your character is formulated to understand that I can go and overcome this. So when you suffering, I beg you to realize the value in that valley. Look up at that mountaintop and start taking steps towards it, because it's going to build your character and make you oh so much greater. So do not allow others to see you suffer and make a mockery of it. Do not give power over to the person who you felt broke your heart by sitting around wallowing in your suffering. Do not say to an individual, yo, what's up, boss? Yeah, I'm just suffering. Do not fuel those negative reinforcements of suffering in your life. Remove that. And understand that suffering ain't suffering. It's just a situation. So this is Great Zach Tate. I thank you for tuning in today. I hope that if anybody's suffering financially, spiritually, emotionally, that you sit down and you realize this is just something I'm going to get through. My spirit, my body, my will, and my God is not going to allow me to stay in this position no more. Let me look up at the mountaintop and start taking them steps. Thank you for tuning in, and I appreciate all your love and all your support.